Hey, it's Danny from projectmanaverse.com, and in this video, I'm going to explain how to get your project back under control. Now, if you feel like your project is spiraling out of control, you're not sure if your team are working on the right thing, you're not sure what your team members are even working on at all, you feel like there's too many new issues that you have to deal with and they're stacking up, or you're getting negative feedback from the business and the customers, and everything just feels completely chaotic, then your project has fallen out of control and we need to get it back. Don't worry, we can do it. It is salvageable. And I understand it's not a good place to be in. You'll feel anxiety, it feels embarrassing, it feels stressful, and it happens to the best of us, more so at the start of our project management careers when we're just finding our feet, but it does happen. And I do remember it happening to me when I got my first big IT project as a senior project manager. It was a £2 million IT software upgrade, lots of infrastructure build, lots of infrastructure upgrade. And about halfway through the project, it was really getting out of control. I was feeling the chaos, and I got called into a meeting by, I think it was a senior operational business lead at the time, and maybe a test manager as well. We sat down in the room face to face, and I'll never forget this. The chap said to me, Danny, we just feel like the project is a bit rudderless at the moment. And he said it in a nice way, but I remember I just felt such a feeling of failure in that moment and embarrassment. And I kept a brave face, and I was also proud as well. I wasn't willing to say, yeah, I've let the ball drop here and it's fallen out of control. But I did acknowledge and kind of say what we could do about it to get it back on track. But I just remember that. I'll never forget it. That was over 10 years ago, and it was just an embarrassing moment. But it was a turning point as well, because after that, the shame drove me to get things under control, and we did actually deliver in the end. So I know what it's like. So if your project has fallen out of control and you're feeling it's chaotic and you're feeling that anxiety, then to be honest, that shouldn't be the case. A project should never feel out of control if you set it up correctly and you are managing it correctly. There's no reason for it to fall out of control. You can have stressful days, it can be really intense, it can be tough, it can be late hours, but there's no reason for it to be out of control if you're managing it properly. So if it has fallen out of control, you either haven't set up the structure to begin with, you haven't set up a proper structure, a proper governance, or you've set it up to begin with, but it's fallen by the wayside and it's fallen apart. And with anything in life, in the universe, if you set up a structure and you neglect it, it will fall apart. It's called entropy. It's the natural tendency for anything in the universe to tend towards chaos. And to stave off that chaos, you have to constantly put in order. And that's what we're here to do as project managers, to keep the structure there. It's daily grind, it's daily energy you have to expend on keeping the order and structure of the project. Because if you don't do it, it will just fall apart. As with anything in life, you have to pay the rent on it to maintain it. You can't just have something and achieve something and it's there forever. You've got to keep putting in the work to maintain it. If you go to the gym and you create a great body and you eat right to get there, you can't just get that great body and then just sit back and expect it to stay there forever without putting in the work to maintain it. So you've got to pay the rent on your project structure. You've got to keep it there and invest your energy. As I always say to everyone on my channel, your prime objective as a project manager is to bring order from chaos. Someone needs to do that, and it's the project manager. So those are the two reasons why your project's fallen out of control. Now, you can get it back into control, and that's what this video is all about. So I'm going to give you a few steps to do that. So step number one is be clear on your scope. Take a step back and get crystal clear on your scope. You've probably got some kind of scope document already, but has that maintained, or are you now feeling a bit fuzzy about what the scope truly is? You need to make sure you're crystal clear. And if you need to do that exercise again, get your team in a room and think, right, what exactly is our scope? And just get that clarified, and then just convert that onto paper, get it documented, and then convert that into a summary version. A scope on a page is what I like to use, because it's easy. You can read it in a few minutes. You can make it nice with pictures, and it's very easy to understand. So get crystal clear on your scope. That is step number one. Step number two is take stock of your project and be honest and think, right, what is the true status of our project? If you've been saying you're green when if you're listening to this video, you're obviously not green. It's fallen out of control, but you might be reporting green. It often happens. Project managers tend to try and hide the actual chaos of their projects, and they'll report green. They'll do a bit of smoke and mirrors on their plan and all that kind of stuff. So it ticks the boxes to, on paper, show it as green, but in reality, it's actually amber or red. So take stock and get honest and think, right, what is the true status of our project? And rag it accordingly. Is it amber or is it red? That's number two. Number three is do a replan. So you need to take your plan. Hopefully you do have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then this is the time to create a plan. But if you have a plan, it's probably fallen by the wayside. So get your team together, have a little workshop, and look at your current plan and think, right, is this really still achievable? Are we still going to hit our end of our final ultimate go live date and all the key milestones on our critical path leading up to that project end go live date? Now, I do recommend don't abandon that end of that go live date. Try and we can rejuggle things along the way. You can rejuggle your critical path or how to get there and those key milestones, but you want to try at all costs to preserve that end of date, that final project go live date, because that's the main thing. If you deliver on time, doesn't matter that the project may have fallen in chaos to begin with, as long as you brought it back and you still achieve that final go live date. So have a replan. You might have to juggle your milestones around. You might have to move things. You might have to cut out some scope. You might have to bring in more resource to achieve it, but figure out what you need to do to now hit that go live date. And it probably still is achievable with a bit of focus and attention. So that's your next step. Do the replan. Okay, after that, you want to make sure you're very clear on the roles and responsibilities and ways of working. So you should be doing this replan activity with your team. And as you're going through that plan and all the key activities, you need to make sure you've got all the right people aligned to do those activities and they know they are delivering them. Get that buy-in from the people that are doing them. Get that buy-in into your new plan. It's very important. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And then be clear on your new ways of working, because whatever you were doing before, it wasn't working. So you need to now focus and either introduce a daily call, or you want daily updates from your team so it's clear on what's going on. You want them to flag up issues immediately if they happen. Just reestablish ways of working and make that very clear. And again, get the buy-in from your whole team. Okay, next is to now do the hard bit and share your true status and replan with those senior stakeholders, because the time for hiding is over. It's time to lay down your cards, be honest, put your hand up and say the project is in a bad place, but we do have a route to green. We've got a path to get it back on track. So you need to get that buy-in from your senior leaders. And if you need the extra resource and you need their support, that's why you're doing it. You want to get their buy-in and their support to now deliver this thing. We can still do it. We can still hit our ultimate go live date, but we need to now follow this new plan. And in order to follow this new plan, we need a few more resources. We need a little bit more funding. We need some weekend working here and there, which will need your support and top-down drive for. But if you can get their support, might be painful to begin with, that first conversation, but you'll find that they've seen it all before. They've seen projects go red before, and they'll probably find it quite refreshing that you've actually put your hand up and said, right, we're struggling, but we've got a plan to get it back on track. Here's our new plan. It's going to work. We just need your support. And once you have done that and they've agreed it, you will feel so much better as a project manager. You've now got a clean state. You're honest. Everyone knows the true picture. Everyone knows the clean plan. And now from this point forward, you're going to be honest with your status update. Always have the true status on your plan. If you've got red milestones, be honest about it. And then a lot of that anxiety will go away, because I remember when you get into that place when it's all spiraling out of control, you just almost want to hide. You don't want to face the project every day. It kind of gets worse and you almost give up. So you don't want to be in that position. So be honest, and you'll find when you're honest from the start, you'll get a lot more offers of support, and there'll be a lot of people there to help you out, especially on that senior level. They'll do things. They are there to remove roadblocks and give you support to deliver the project. So just be honest as you're going along. Okay, the next thing you want to do is re-establish your project working group. This is one of the most powerful tools for any project manager, and it amazes me when I see project managers not having a weekly project working group meeting. Have it weekly, have it twice weekly, but have it at least weekly, have it for an hour, and just use that to review your scope on a page. Right, we're all still crystal clear on our scope because there's real power in clarity for you and your team. You must always be laser focused on what you're doing, because if you don't have that and that scope becomes fuzzy, then that's when fear starts to kick in. That's when procrastination starts to kick in and the project falls apart. Just keep making sure you're putting in the energy to keep that order, infuse that order into your project and your scope, so it's always crystal clear, it's maintained. Right, has anything new trickled in? Have we got any sneaky scope creep from stakeholders out there? Because now you've gone to your senior leaders and you've re-established that plan and the scope as well. I forgot to mention that. Make sure you re-establish the scope. There should be no reason for scope creep. If someone wants something new, it has to go through the CR process, so you're protected and you're not getting that out of control feeling where you're doing favors and things are sneaking in, but it's not official. So that's where you don't want to be. So make sure you review your scope in that weekly meeting. It should take 5 minutes. Anything new? Great, perfect. This is still our scope. Good, great. Now move on to your plan on the page. Look at your milestones. What's the true RAG status of your upcoming milestones? Are they all green? Are you going to hit them all? Are they amber? Any amber ones, get all over them. Right, how do we get the amber milestone back to green? What's the path to green? How do we keep this plan as green as possible? And also, yeah, who is doing what? So make sure you're clear as a project manager for the next week what your resources are doing. You don't want to be in that position where you don't know what any of your resources are doing on any given day. You should always know what someone is doing or what they're working on. Now, if you do those steps, then you'll get your project back under control and you'll feel so much better as a project manager, and you should now achieve your ultimate go live date. I'm going to wrap up the video there. I hope it was useful. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, do subscribe. And until tomorrow, please take care.